For our opening address, he has been called the Robin Hood of public relations. He's also been called one of the 100 most influential PR people. David Fenton is chairman of Fenton Communications, the agency he founded in 1982 to create communication campaigns for the environment, public health, and human rights. With our opening address, The Challenges of Communicating Climate. Ladies and gentlemen, David Fenton.
Thank you. Climate change is a really tough communications challenge. You can't see it, you can't taste it. It appears to be in the distant future. It does not touch the hormonal tripwires of human beings that we evolved to react to. And so it's a gigantic challenge, but at the same time, we're doing a very poor job of working on it the right way. And in general, I would say we are way behind where we should be in communicating climate change and the urgency that the people in this room understand, the public does not. Now, a friend of mine wrote a book about how difficult it is to communicate climate change. It's called Don't Even Think About It: Why Our Brains Aren't Wired for Climate Change. And he makes a couple of suggestions in there. He says, well, we should release a phony internet story. And it could say that the CIA has discovered that the North Korean government is pumping a dangerous gas into the atmosphere, and it's raising global temperatures and sea levels. And everybody would say, go take those mothers out tomorrow. And we'd say, ha ha, it's climate change. Or a giant asteroid is headed for the Earth, and it's bigger than the one that wiped out the dinosaurs. And it's going to hit the Earth in 10 years. And everybody would say, get those rockets up there tomorrow and knock that thing off course. And we'd say, ha ha, it's climate change. So it's a very tough problem. And in a sense, you could say on climate change, at least in the United States, where public opinion is the worst on this issue of pretty much any country, that Paul Revere, in effect, has not yet had his ride. People do not know that the British are coming. And in our community, we often are confused about this. We think that people are more aware of this danger than they are. Here are the facts. According to the latest Yale research, only 48% of Americans believe that humans are changing the climate. That's not enough to win. Only 16% of Americans believe it's urgent. Only 16%. In surveys year after year, when you ask the public in the United States, how do you rate issues of importance, climate change is 19th out of 20th, because people do not understand how it's related to their primary concerns, the economy, jobs, their health, security. They do not understand this. So that's our job. And 30 years into this battle, we haven't done it well enough yet. Now, I want to talk about some basic aspects of communications theory. It's actually quite simple. So the main thing to know about how communications works on the brain is a simple word: repetition. If people hear things once, they do not absorb it, they don't remember it, they don't understand it in most cases. Only by ensuring that simple messages are repeated over and over and over again to a particular target audience do we move that audience. Only by repeating a simple message to a target audience over and over until you are sick to death of it has anybody heard you. And this is what we don't do. Now, here's someone who's very good at this, Donald Trump. So Donald Trump has a simple message. He's a communications genius. Make America great again. Over and over and over and over. Bernie's pretty good at it too. Make the economy work for everybody, not just the 1%. Now what, I ask you, is our simple message on climate change? We don't have one. Our message on climate change is basically the Tower of Babel. Right? Now, how good is that going to affect people? And what is our simple message about how to solve climate change? We don't have that either. Now, another basic aspect of ensuring this repetition is to have some really great spokespeople who have guaranteed, ensured, repetitive visibility. Who are our spokespeople on climate change? If you go out on the street and ask the public, they'll say, if they say anything, you'll get one answer, and that's Al Gore, right? And bless him, he's done more than anybody. But he doesn't work for everybody. And you don't win when you only have one spokesperson, because that does not ensure sufficient repetition. And in our community, we have incredible spokespeople. Dr. Catherine Hayhoe, who some of you may know, who's a Christian evangelical climate scientist at Texas Tech. She's fantastic, but there's no program to help her become well-known. She has to do it all on her own. There are some incredible Republican spokespeople on climate change now. And what is more important, really, than getting more Republicans on board? Because we will not solve this problem until we depoliticize it, or at least split some Republicans so we have some allies on that side. So I want to show you a few things that we're trying to do on this and talk about what else really is needed. So on the Republican side, so the conservative media continues to claim that climate change is a hoax, that carbon dioxide is good for you, that trying to do anything about it is a leftist plot to destroy free enterprise. And that's essentially, if you're a Republican, libertarian, conservative, that's mostly what you hear. And where do you hear and see this? Well, for one place, it's in the nation's largest newspaper, the Wall Street Journal. Now, people don't know it's the nation's largest newspaper. It sells 1.5 million print copies a day compared to 550,000 for the New York Times. And the official position of the Wall Street Journal is that there is no climate change. The Earth has not warmed, and we're just a bunch of crazy people. So we decided that we would ensure that the basic facts about climate change would be in the Wall Street Journal repetitively by buying it. Only way to do it. And Amelia, let's put the first picture up. So this is the first ad we did. It ran last Tuesday. Exxon CEO says fossil fuels are raising temperatures and sea levels. Why won't the Wall Street Journal? And the second ad starts with basics that have never been presented there. Carbon dioxide traps heat on Earth. If we can agree on that, we can have a conversation. And if we have too much carbon dioxide, we're going to get too hot. We have to start with these basics because they've never been presented to this audience. How ridiculous is that? The third ad, this is in the paper today, actually. What goes up does not come down. Carbon dioxide stays in the atmosphere for centuries. If you give Rupert Murdoch a few dollars today, you can buy this upstairs. So this is something our own community doesn't understand enough, which is that the stuff stays there for centuries and we're running out of room. The Earth has warmed, and we did it. Now, these are appearing on the op-ed page opposite the editorials of the Wall Street Journal. We released a study in doing this. We found that in 25 years, the Wall Street Journal has never once, in an editorial, admitted that either human beings or fossil fuels are changing the climate. Never once in 25 years. That's really good for investors, really solid advice, right? We're also going to be buying ads on Fox News during the Republican convention. This is all with a really great group in Washington called the Partnership for Responsible Growth, which is a bipartisan group pushing for a price on carbon, which really is the policy that has the greatest potential of a bipartisan approach. And we really all should be focusing not only on warning people about climate change in terms they can understand, but on this solution. By the way, if you read these ads, you'll see they're all in language designed to appeal to Republicans. They're about the climate change threat to freedom and prosperity and security. And that's actually what it is, but we don't ever talk about it that way to that audience. So no wonder we don't get through. Okay, so moving more on this Republican bubble example. So If you live in Washington, D.C., and you turn on the television, you're only going to see advertising that says fossil fuels are terrific. We're going to be energy independent. We're going to make all this money. There's going to be all these jobs from oil, coal, and gas. And this beautiful woman is telling you. And what will you never see? I mean, just about never. That if we use all those fossil fuels, the naval bases will flood, the National Mall will flood, the price of food will skyrocket. That message is invisible in our nation's capital when people turn on TV, except for the occasional report by an environmental group, which is terrific, but again, only repetition works. So how much do people in this room, and if you've heard me ask this before, you're disqualified from answering, please. How much do you think it costs to buy a 30-second ad on either CNN or Fox News in Washington, D.C.? One 30-second ad just in Washington, D.C. on cable news. Take a guess. Do we have any guesses here? $25,000. Okay. $50,000. The answer is $300. That's right. It's $300. Okay, and if you want to be an O'Reilly at prime time, it's $500. So, ergo, the reason we are invisible is not because we can't afford it. It's because we don't think this way. We are up against these evil marketing geniuses for the fossil fuel companies, but we don't match them. And you don't have to match them dollar for dollar. You just have to be smart and creative and do things to get attention. But you have to focus on this. We can't continue to use what I call the telepathic theory of communications, which is, in our community, we think something and somehow magically everybody has heard it and understands it like we do. We need to do a marketing campaign. And you start with the basics, simple messages that you know work by testing, reliable, articulate spokespeople who you guarantee are visible, and a host of activities, all of which add up to a multimedia marketing campaign on the greatest problem facing civilization and how to solve it. Now, there's other aspects of this. 450,000 people marched in New York almost 2 years ago on climate. I'm sure some of you were among them. So I want to ask you, what are those people supposed to do now? And how are they supposed to find out? And how are we supposed to be in touch with them? The answer is none of the above. What a waste. Now, there is no online global climate army. There are groups doing great work, but it does not add up to the powerful force we could build that would be self-supporting online, as Bernie and Move On and everyone else has shown us. So this is another communications challenge, and not a difficult one if we focus on it. So I'll leave you with these thoughts and happy to answer questions later. But we must start focusing on the need to do an actual communications and marketing campaign on this issue that will absolutely be guaranteed to reach target audiences repetitively and effectively. We haven't, but we can. Thank you very much.